Hi guys. So 2021. I know we're already into the year, like a couple of weeks. But yeah, I still thought I'd make this video. I make this video every year. Well, I have done for the last few years. And in the description of the video below, I always love it when people do this. Like, I don't know why. I I still find myself doing this in the description of the video below. Um, I will put links to previous year's word videos if you'd like to see them. Over the years, I have released some profound words of wisdom. Not this year, I don't feel. This year, I don't feel so. But in previous years, I think I have given some pretty good advice, some pretty cool stuff, So go check them out. Just like, I don't know, use them as like a podcast and put me on in the background while you're doing something boring like ironing or driving or something. Anyway, this year I hadn't really thought about doing a word of the year. 2020 was just 2020, wasn't it? And everything went haywire in 2020, and I don't think I really reflected back on my word of the year that much at all. For those of you who aren't familiar with word of the year, it's a concept that quite a lot of people do. It's been around a while, and it's basically thinking of a word that you want to set your intentions by, live your life by, meditate over, manifest over for the year. Something you aspire to do or something you aspire to be. That kind of thing. And so yeah, I don't think like I really reflected back on last year's word at all. In fact, I can't even remember what last year's word of the year is without going back and looking for it. I did in my last year's planner. I did do a little bit of I wrote down in here, which you can't see, that's lucky. That just some things that I wanted to do in 2020, and some of it got done, some of it didn't. So I didn't write down my word of the year, which I should have done to look back on, but I did write down like my goals for the year. So one of them was to be more positive about certain people. Um, there's just like there were just some people in your life that you just, I don't know, that I was struggling to feel positive about and to have a positive relationship with. But that is still kind of like a work in progress. I'm not going to go into that because it's a bit private, really. The other one was to slow life down and have less focus on times. I am quite I tend to be quite rigid and quite not rigid. I like to go with the flow, but in my head, I've constantly got like, I've got to get dinner ready for this time. I've got to do this, la la. So I wanted to kind of slow that down a bit and not be so focused on got to do this at this time and blah 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 blah. I wanted to finish my book and get it published. Now I have finished my book. I haven't had it published yet. John is still reading it, but he's a busy man, and so whilst my book's finished, it won't be published for a while, and I'm going to self-publish it because I tried contacting a few publishers and it was just so consuming because I'm consuming. And yes, I did get lots of rejection, which is fine. I know that's what happens, but I just couldn't be bothered with it. So I think I'm going to self-publish when it's finally been read by him to make sure he's happy with it, because he plays like a big part of that book. It's like a memoir-y type book. So that's still a work in progress. It's been like 2 years, but it is what it is. But that's a work in progress. Settled in child number 2. That's gone well. So those of you who didn't know, during the first lockdown in spring last year, we had a new daughter come to live with us. Her adoption still isn't finalised yet. It's a long and complicated story slash case. That's that. But so she will one day be forever ours. But it's still ongoing. But well, we settled her in, and that's cool. So make more time for self-care. It's interesting that I wrote that at the beginning of 2020, but at the beginning of 2021, that is still something that is on my list for this year. I go in peaks and troughs with self-care. Work in progress. Work in progress. I definitely feel that I am better at um self-care. And I don't so I want to put self-care into like two categories. Self-care is in doing things for myself, and then the other category of personal grooming, shall we say. Um because I actually sort of see the two, they're both self-care, but they're sort of slightly different. And sometimes when I'm sort of tired and busy, I don't always keep up with the um personal grooming type of self-care, like the waxing and plucking and all of that kind of stuff. Um, but yeah, there's sort of two different things which I need to prioritize. As I need to prioritize both of them, but an Italy trip. We did manage an Italy trip in 2020, just before the lockdown. So my parents live in Italy, and normally they come and see us a couple of times a year. Um, my dad in 2019, at the end of 2019, he was quite poorly and he had some major surgery, and I did an emergency fly out trip to go and see him um and everything, which I'm really really grateful that I was able to like drop everything at the last minute. My John's family over here were amazing. They helped us with childcare and everything, so that I could go and spend time with my family. That was amazing. And then obviously I was worried about my dad, and I knew that he wouldn't be able to fly and come and see us for a while. So I wanted to go and see them. So February last year, 2020, we did manage as a family, the three of us, to go out and spend a week with them, which was really lovely. And oh my goodness, I'm so glad that we did, because we literally, when we flew back, we weren't even sure whether we were going to be able to get in the country, because COVID was up in the Lombardy region, and I guess people didn't really know much about like COVID then. So we weren't even sure whether we'd be able to get in the country, but that all happened, and then COVID kicked off when we got back and everything. But we'd actually isolated ourselves before the lockdown, because we'd come back with cold. We weren't feeling very well. We'd come back with colds and things. We may have had COVID. Who knows? I don't know, because back then there weren't any tests. But yeah, I'm so glad that we went to do that Italy trip. But I'm also really sad, like with COVID and everything. Obviously, through all this, we've been able to stay healthy and everything. But it's just a real shame that we had a new little girl join our family, and my parents haven't been able to come over and meet her yet. And it won't be long before she's been living here a year, and they still haven't met her in the flesh. Mm. So I've been processing feelings of anger about that. Um, so I wanted to have my phone in my hand a lot less, and to KonMari, I guess you could say, a lot of my social media, which I did do. I did leave quite a few groups, and I have followed a few accounts um, that don't serve the interests that I'm into now. Like, it was pointless. So I did manage to do that. Wanted to grow our own, make a go at growing our own vegetables and make that work, which we did. We've got 6 vegetable beds in our garden at home, and our allotment as well, and we did really make that work, and we did really well at that. And lastly, on my list of things to do for 2020, I wanted to go and visit more northern beaches. That didn't happen at all because of COVID and everything. Um, and then I've got like longer term things, which at the moment I'm kind of putting on a back burner, because they're all things, a lot of them involve like travel, and we're in a world at the moment where that's all a bit uncertain and not possible. But I'm feeling like I accomplished quite a lot for 2020, and some of them are still works in progress, and as I say, that's fine, like be a personal development and everything. So I was then thinking about, do I want to do a word for 2021? And I'd kind of put it all on the back burner, and then like the other week I got a new journal for Christmas, and Don't ask me where it's from because I don't know, because John got it from me. It's from Insights. I love Labyrinth. I'm an 80s child. I absolutely love Labyrinth. One of my all-time favourite films. Um and I just opened it one day and I started to just write the glare, sorry. And just started to write some stuff. So I wanted to take um stuff from 20 to 20, like lessons learnt, good and not so good. So I just wrote a bullet list, really, and I put on there health. Um, health has become like a major awareness. As I said, like, my dad having like his major surgery and everything, and then COVID, and my eldest daughter has had some ongoing health concerns over this past year, and I'm mindful of the fact that I'm aging as well. I'm going to be 40 at the end of February, and so I put health on the list. And under that, I put grateful. There are so many things that I'm grateful for. Um, that when you're living your life and there's ups and downs, quite a few downs this past year, quite a few stresses, that sort of thing, I think it's very easy to lose sight of the fact that you have actually still got a lot of good things going on in your life. And so I also put thankful, because at the end of the day, we still have a roof over our heads, and we have each other, and we have our health, and we have love, and that is actually a lot to be grateful for. You know, there were so as I said, like, it wasn't long after our new daughter joined us last year, John was furloughed, and our like Brimble's business took a bit of a nosedive as well, because I guess so many people were furloughed, like money was kind of um like a concern as well, and so it was like, ah, my goodness. But then, interestingly, as John came out of furlough, um everybody started ordering from us as well. So then we ended up having, like, towards the end of the year, we ended up having like our biggest business year yet, I think. And we are still catching up with that. Our lead times are still long because we're still catching up with that. So it's like, actually, there is so much to be grateful for and thankful for. I put on my list nature, because nature plays a big part for us. In this family, we have good days and bad days. We have bad parts of good days and good parts of bad days. And nature is something that we use a lot when we press that reset button. And we press that reset button and we get outside, whatever the weather. And for all of us, I mean, there's lots that I don't tell you about my family because I need to respect my two daughters' privacy and the fact that they have had lives prior to coming to live with us. So I don't talk about a lot of that. But nature for us is like, that reset button that we all need. And I have put family on here. I'm still, through all this COVID stuff, both sets of our parents are, touch wood, still with us, still healthy. So grateful for that. So those are kind of like positives. And then I have got some sort of like, this is still lessons learned. I put burnt out / self-care / respite. This year I've had basically no respite for like myself, because several reasons. We haven't seen like so many of our groups and things got cancelled, and groups were quite a big respite for me. Like, say, or like meeting up with friends and going to soft play, or just meeting up with friends anyway and letting the kids just run free and having some like time and some adult conversation. That hasn't existed this year. And things like my eldest daughter going to her grandma's for a couple of hours, that hasn't existed this year. We made the decision not to really see them, so as to keep them safe. And it's just, and I've been burnt out. It's like with both John and I, we've had a new kid that we've got to learn a routine. Neither of my children sleep at either ends of the day. One doesn't sleep in the morning, the other one doesn't sleep at night. So it's quite tiring. And work has just been busy, like juggling work. And I mean, we home educate anyway, but home educating, but without groups and things. And towards the end of the year, like work's been really busy. It just felt really burnt out, and with other complications going on around, um, my mood went really down, and I got really low, and I've been working, like I worked over Christmas to kind of get my mood back up, and all that kind of thing. There's been lots of stress this year, with like COVID world around us going crazy, and um, adoption and all that kind of stuff. There's been anxiety, and there's been tiredness. So all of those things is what's been going on in 2020, and I'm sure that's probably the same for a lot of you guys. I need a drink now. I talk a lot, I know. So I then went on for like my focus for 2021 is happiness. That is my focus for 2021. That is my word for the year, is happiness. Quite simple, quite straightforward. I want to draw more on the fact that I'm grateful and thankful for so many good things around me. Yes, there are so many bad things, but there are also so many good things as well. And I believe that the key to a happy life is how you process and deal with the bad things that happen. I feel that you can choose to be, let me stop that, unless you have a medical condition, unless you have depression, I'm not taking away anything from medically recognised conditions. I'm talking about people who don't have like those conditions, and I don't really know how to say that without offending anybody, because I don't know what the politically correct term is. Um, um, but I just think, like myself, I do not have depression. I'm not diagnosed with depression. I'm just someone who can feel quite low at times, and I believe that I can wake up in the morning and be like, the glass is half full today, or the glass is half empty, and kind of choose to get on and like find ways of kind of like dealing with that and like cracking on, if that makes sense. Yeah, I find that it's really hard to know, because like I can't keep up with different terminology and things for everything in the world, and whilst I try and educate myself on various things, the world is just changing so fast, and it's just hard. So yeah, my focus for this year is happiness, and I think if I'm happy, my family are happy. If I'm in a positive mindset, if I'm in a positive mood, then everyone else is happy. If I'm looking after myself, and I can then look after the house, and I can look after the kids and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, happiness, and just looking at different ways in which I can make myself happy, or where the happiness comes from. And I'm not talking about like the big things, like a mega trip to Disneyland or something, because I think they do make you happy, but I don't think that's long-term happiness. Um, Things like a cup of tea, like in my favourite mug, like the little things, like enjoying making a cup of tea with a nice tea, or um, a new journal, or things like that. Like trying to find the happiness in the little everyday things. They mount up to the big things. I think if you're happy in your everyday life, then you are overly happy. Like even on the bad days when there are things kicking off at home, if someone asked me if I'm happy, I'd still say yes, I am happy, because I am happy with my life. It's just we're just having a bad day, but not a bad life. You see what I mean? So yeah, that's my word for the year. On my Patreon, if you're still with me, I don't even know if you're still here, because I've been chatting for like 20 minutes now. On my Patreon this month, I did a tutorial on how to draw a dragon. He's a wish dragon, and in here, so this is like a dashboard. Sorry, I'm back to front. There we go. In here, this is where my word for the year is going to be on my star. He is protecting him. My word. So this is what I did a tutorial on how to draw my dragon over on my Patreon this month. I haven't finished the rest of this, but I'm going to finish that, and that's going in my journal. So if you fancy learning how to draw that, come and join me on Patreon. I'd love to have you over there. Yeah. I think that's what I want to say. Run out of steam now. And you're probably not watching because it's been 20 minutes. If you're still here, thank you for still being here. And I'm going to say ta-ta. And here is now an awkward ending. So, bye.